What's up, everyone? San Antoine again. Just wanted to tap in and say I appreciate all the love that was sent my way in regards to the views, the likes, the sharing, and the reposting. It means a lot. Benzo's one of my first videos. I do want to come to y'all again with the I've Been That Man, but I want to hit on me being the emotional unavailable man. When it comes to me being an emotional unavailable man, I use me being blunt to push away people. And what I mean by that is, I knew for a fact that me being super blunt will have people put their guard up, and at that point in time, that's what I wanted. Because I knew that if I did that, then there's no way that I would be able to get hurt in a sense. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but I hope it does. But yeah, being blunt for me was a thing of mine. Being like overly honest, and somewhat I would say somewhat it was borderline disrespectful, honestly. But that was my coping mechanism from God in my heart, I would say. But there was no excuse for me to be overly blunt. Again, it would just be me being emotionally unattached. You know, me personally, once I got out of a relationship, I can honestly, I have like an emotional switch. Because once I'm in, it's on. Once I'm out, it's off. And I ran into plenty, which people or a lot of men would say like it's not a lot of good women out here, but there's plenty of good women out here. And I ran past plenty of good women, you know what I mean? But me being emotionally unavailable, I made it hard for them to connect with me, which was a fault of mine. And understanding that now, it just give me a cause to pause. More so, I wouldn't say a cause to pause. I would say more so a better understanding of where I was in that time. And again, just reflecting, and I know a lot of men. I know a lot of men who have done or do the same thing that I'm talking about. But again, it's a part of growth. It's a part of understanding, and I'm just here just to give you my truth, and hopefully whoever ear it catches, they can take something from it. What I did wasn't like on man time. You know what I mean? It wasn't authentic. It wasn't true. It was just me being a pussy for real. Because I quote unquote wanted to guard my heart. And again, it's nothing wrong with protecting yourself, but going about protecting yourself is I would say a part of being mature.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody who showed love to my brother's first video. It hit 1,300 views, and we want to keep the momentum rolling. I wanted to let it sit for a little bit so that we can soak up as much likes and shares. So thank you for showing us love. Thank you for showing him love in a moment of vulnerability and transparency. And so I want to kind of tap into his second video that he talked about me, of course, being the architect. I like to look into science and try to figure out why we do some of the things that we do. I like to look at patterns and such. So as the architect, my brother said that he was emotionally unavailable. I'm not sure if that is the problem, but that was a solution that his nervous system created. Remember, I talked about nervous system. He described something that a lot of men do. The language that we utilize. Being emotionally unavailable, being blunt. But I don't think he was simply just being blunt. I think that he was utilizing his bluntness as a protective strategy. And in the internal family system, kind of explains that. It's a framework, and it basically suggests that we're made up of three different internal parts, each trying to protect us from pain in its own way. So we have the exile, we have the firefighter, and we have the manager. So when I listened to his story, I didn't think he's emotionally unavailable. What I heard is that his manager was at work. See, the manager is our protective protector, right? Or I'm sorry, double negative, but our proactive protector. The job of the manager is to prevent. The job of the manager is to prevent us from experiencing the pain we've experienced before. If it was rejection and it was painful, vulnerability, being led, leading to disappointment, um, opening up your heart when it wasn't safe. The manager may decide on a subconscious level to protect you from that and not to allow anybody to get close to you ever again. And you may, as we all know, that relationships are an integral part of being a human. So it's very difficult to avoid relationships altogether. So, what is another way that an individual may be able to navigate being in a relationship? Maybe trying to control it, maybe trying to control the pace of the relationship. And I don't think that's necessarily a manipulation tactic, but relationships are a dance. It is a control of distance. It's just how you do it, which makes it right or wrong. And my brother's strategy, as he admittedly said, is that he was controlling the distance through excessive bluntness. On the surface, it sounds like honesty, but psychologically, it's a function for distance, to build distance, not allowing people to get too close to him. Um, if I make you uncomfortable at first, right, you're gonna want to get away from me. If I push you away, you may choose to leave. Um, what it does, it protects them, of course, or lessens the probability of being hurt. Um, I don't necessarily see it as manipulation in every case, um, but I do see that, just like he recognized it as, uh, you know, being problematic. But not only is it problematic, it also is a protective factor, which two things can be true. He also explained something that stood out to me. Um, he said, "When I'm in it, I'm in it. When I'm out, I'm out." And with the internal family systems, what I would um, challenge myself as well. I'll talk about what I do. I'm not blunt, but I'm very dissociative as far as my defense mechanism. But what I would challenge myself, and I would challenge others who may be experiencing this emotional unavailability or utilizing, bluntness as a distance or any type of mechanism for distancing is, instead of asking, you know, um, why am I so cold, or a person who's experiences why is that person so cold, but to ask, what part of me learned that shutting down was the safest option, or why? Why did I adopt this principle? Emotional shutdowns often reflect another protective part that steps in when vulnerability feels overwhelming. The nervous system isn't trying to destroy intimacy; it's trying to prevent another wound. So we want intimacy, but we don't want to get hurt. We don't want to be too vulnerable. We don't want to be looked at as stupid or being played with, and so there's this, again, that's that dance that I was talking about. Um, the tragedy about it is, if we don't have enough awareness, and is that if you utilize the same protective strategy, right, it'll begin to kind of isolate you. And humans aren't made to be isolated or to be alone, right? So those walls that you put up, right, to keep the pain out, it's also keeping love out from coming in, and it's isolating you. It's putting you on an island, as I used to tell my ex. So what I appreciate about what my brother did and his reflection is that, number one, he didn't blame women. That's my biggest pet peeve when it comes to anybody speaking in relationships, and um, when they talk about their personal experiences, is blaming other people for a decision that we've made, whether it was by a trigger or trauma. We've made a decision. He actually admitted that he met good women and that he wasn't available to them. And that's important, is that we may go through dating, we may meet several people, and may not have had an expanded enough mind to say, this is a good person that I should be dealing with, and I need to let my walls down. Instead, we implement the same strategy on every individual. And that's something that I speak about in a group. When you set expectations and you set standards, right, and you set boundaries for the person behind you that you left. And then you took that strategy, you took those standards, and you imposed it on a new person in which you don't know from, potentially don't know from a can of paint. So I love that my brother took accountability about him saying that he met good women and he may have messed it up, right? And it's not to shame him, um, but there is a difference between healing and criticizing others, or to protect yourself. I think that that's important. It's like, I'm healing, but I'm not criticizing other people. I'm not criticizing the whole sex for the behaviors that for this one individual's behavior. Um, and I think that there gets to a point where that strategy may have worked for you, but at some point, it's not going to work. And that's where the healing is important, so that we can take a step back. Um, Truly, what healing looks like. What does healing look like? Healing is helping those three parts, realize that today's relationships are not yesterday's survival situations. That's what healing is, right? The goal isn't to destroy the protector, it's to update its software, to update it, right? I love software, our brains are mini computers, but to update it, to let the manager know that, hey, listen, I'm no longer with that individual and I'm no longer in that space. So let's create a new strategy when we're dealing with a new individual. So before I let you go, I told you I would talk about myself. My so I spoke about the exile, right? So the exile is the child like you, right? That's the part that we try to protect, is the child within us. That's the exile, and the manager is trying to make sure that it doesn't happen from the rip. And if it does happen, then the firefighter comes to put the fire out, right? That's the person that's trying to redeem you and bring you back. And so for me, my manager is dissociative. If I start to see that a vibe goes left, or this person isn't quite aligned with me, or just doing little things that I don't like, I distance myself. I'm not blunt, but I just distance myself. And oftentimes what I find is that the people that I distance myself from don't have closure as to why I distance myself, why I took a step back. I don't I don't take the time to say, hey, this is the reason why I backed off, because I often feel that when you come back to give closure, to have a conversation with individuals, you kind of get back into the perpetual cycle of the dance again, right? So what I tend to do is I distance myself and I take a step back, and I don't necessarily give explanation, and I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I will say, in the attraction phase, in the first phase of dating, I owe and nobody nothing, and nobody owes me anything. So there's been plenty of times where I've been distanced, where I've been ghosted, where people haven't, people just stopped talking to me, blocked me in those cases, and I can't take it personal. So I think it's until you get to that next level where you've been very consistent with an individual, where that person may deserve some closure or may deserve some conversation. But in the initial phase, if I've only met you for a week, or we're not having been talking that long, then my I think that strategy works. Um, you know, I might have some people who may disagree, but I am very dissociative. If I find that this person is not aligned with me, that's my manager working at work. Um, and then if I get hurt, then my firefighter comes in and tells me to go to the gym and just go overtime into the gym. Just dive right into my education, dive right into working out, dive right into whatever's going to put that fire out. Which, admittedly, that was something that happened to me in 2025 when I was broken up with. My firefighter went into overcharge and had me doing so many different things, just to protect that child. And so, you know, I hope that you enjoyed my brother's video and him and his transparency. I hope that speaking about the internal family systems help give you more perspective and tools to kind of understand why you may do what you do. You know, whether it's dissociative, whether it's being blunt, whether it's staying surface level with people. Of course, there's no sex assigned to, these behaviors. We all partake in the human experience, and of course, that's what we want to do. We want to get people into a developmental space where they're able to develop healthy relationships with the individual that they want to be with. So, thank you, family, for listening to us. Please like, share, subscribe, follow us on YouTube, share our videos, and make sure that we're trying to shift the culture.